experiment was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
Look out for Charlie.
I want him down.
When you talk to people about chemtrails, persistent contrails, geoengineering, the retard is strong in a lot of these people. Like, there are people out there, a lot of them, that you hear say on the internet, wherever, that they've always been there. Oh, those have always been there. And when you ask them, how do you know this? They say something like,
we've got all this, like, evidence.
And there are ways to prove that these weren't there. I know they weren't there. When I was a little kid, one of my favorite things to do was to lie on my back and watch the sky in the day. And I would watch the jets fly overhead, way up there. And a lot of times, it was hard to tell how far they were traveling because the contrail behind it would only last about 10 seconds before it dissipated. So it would evaporate and vanish quickly, very, very quickly. So the ways to prove this are to go through old magazines. I've talked about this before. And before they try to get in and digitally subvert this stuff like they've done, we need to look at them. They have added chemtrails, persistent contrails, to all the media now. This is the video game GTA 5, where they added chemtrails to the sky in the entire game to normalize it. These are cartoons with chemtrails in them. But all you need to do is look at old magazines, skateboarding and BMX magazines that are mainly shot outside to prove all that wrong. I chose BMX Plus because BMX Plus at the time had a bigger budget than, say, something like Thrasher. So there are more color photos in the magazine than Thrasher. Thrasher uses a lot of black and white photos. So let's check out BMX Plus from 1982. There is not a contrail in the sky. Not one. Let's skim through this. Here's another photo of the sky. Not a contrail in sight. There's another one. Not a contrail in sight. 1982. Let's look for color photos. Not one contrail in the photo. That's impossible because they're everywhere now. Here's another one. Not a contrail in sight. In fact, you will not see one in these old magazines, period. Not one contrail in sight. Here's another one. Not one contrail in sight. Here's a group of photos. Not one contrail in sight. Not one. Not one. Here's another BMX Plus from 1985. Let's check it out. Not a contrail there. Not a contrail there. Not one in either one of these photos. Not one. Not one in that photo. Those are natural clouds. Not one in that photo. Not one in that photo. They are unheard of. You did not see those. And people think that they actually did. They're that brainwashed, or they're being deceptive by saying that. This is a BMX Plus from 1986. Let's check it out. Not one in that cover photo. Let's look at this photo. Those are natural clouds. Not one in the Schwinn Predator commercial advertisement here. Not one in that photo. Here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 photos. Not one single persistent contrail in any of the photos. Not one. 1986. Not one in that photo. Not a single one. Not one single contrail in that photo. Not one. Not one in that photo. Just clouds. They don't exist. They just don't exist. You did not see those. And maybe you lived in a testing area where there were one or two before they brought them out, but they were not a regular thing. People did not see these. And if they think they saw them, they are either brainwashed or crazy. I decided to look up BMX 2007 Street. All right? So let's check these out. That one has a contrail in it. The first photos that show up outside, there's contrails, persistent contrails in the photos, 2007. There's another one. Whatever this dude's riding, that ridiculous thing. There are contrails, persistent contrails, chemtrails. in every photo that pops up. So it's not a coincidence. You can't take photos outside without catching them now. There's another one, and they're just in the background. There's another one. Those are persistent contrails, chemtrails. It's impossible to not catch them. Right there. As soon as you look at photos from, the late 90s and on, they are everywhere. You look back in the 80s, here's another one. You look back in the 80s, and they're non-existent. You have a completely blue sky, and then these trails running through it. People are crazy to think that those were there. And you have to download that stuff or keep hard copies of the old magazines before they subvert that information and try to change it digitally like they did with cartoons, video games, and everything else. They're trying to normalize it. Then you have the retards that claim that there's no effect. It has no effect on the sky, right? Here is one night while I was watching the moon, and they started dumping these trails in front of the moon. Many of them. There's one there. There's ones you can't even see because this camera didn't take very good night shots. And you can see them starting to be laid down in front of the moon throughout the night. There are more and more and more, and then they come by and they drop fatter ones. Then they start dumping more as the sky gets milky white. Then there are more being dumped. Then you can see fatter trails being dumped over here, right? We're getting somewhere with this. Then more trails come by, and the sky is starting to really get milky and crazy looking. More trails are being dumped over here, over there. More, as the night goes by. And then you start to see this. A halo starts forming around the moon. Because these are different. They are finding fibers and dried blood cells and bacteria and all kinds of things in these trails, heavy metals, different things, where the old school chemtrails were nothing but coal ash. And it was just designed to mimic a volcanic eruption and cause a cooling effect. That was the old thing. And they can say now that conspiracy theorists say that chemtrails are for weather manipulation, and they're not. Well, that's probably true because they're not anymore. They're making the sky conductive. They're making the sky, the air, your home, everywhere conductive. And not only that, but they're also bringing these agents down onto the ground, onto the homes, onto the cars. And when you mix certain things together, you can start to get flammable and very dangerous mixtures of metals, of different agents, what have you. Let's keep going here. I want to show you this. See this serious halo starting to form? This was in 2017. This is a long time ago. This has happened since then, but this was the night that I was really documenting it. Here's a halo really forming. You can see it there. And they had stopped trailing by this point. And the halo starts getting crazy. It starts getting really pronounced, and that's what I was trying to do, was take photos of the halo and really get it to show up, because it doesn't show up as well as it did with the naked eye. You can see it there. You can really see it there. There was just this huge halo around the moon there. And there are people out there that say that chemtrails aren't causing these halos around the moon. Full moons just cause them. And that's absolute bullshit. I had never seen one of these in my life. You can see the documentation of where they laid down the trails. And as the sky got milkier and milkier, they stopped. And then pretty soon there was a halo around the damn moon. These people are crazy to deny it. It's absolutely nuts. And here I've showed this before, but here is one of the houses where you can see an agent. A Shewinella type algae agent has dropped down. As you can see, it's not underneath the windowsill, either windowsill, and you can see the distinct line here and here. And it has fallen down like spray paint. It's coming from above. These are photos that I took a long time ago of my area. It's like this all the time. As soon as the sun comes up, they start laying them down like crazy. As soon as the sun gets to a high noon situation, they begin to trail. And then when the sun gets into sunset mode, then they really trail it down so you can't see it right in front of the sun. And they do this throughout the day, but the heaviest periods is when the sun comes up and the sun goes down. So let's check this out. This is in the morning. This is how crazy it was by like 8 in the morning. 8 in the morning. You can see there's probably 30 of these things, literally 30 or more that have just been laid down everywhere. And they're doing this everywhere. And it's making the sky a milky gray. It's not even blue anymore. So aluminum, barium, strontium levels are going through the roof in the ground, in the soil, everywhere. And, you know, these scientists and normies and all these people have all these ridiculous excuses as to why it is happening. Not that it could be just falling down from the sky, but it's just happening normally for some reason. When you have even weathermen that admit fully that this is happening.
That is not rain, that is not snow. Believe it or not, military aircraft flying through the region is dropping chaff, small bits of aluminum, sometimes it's made of plastic or even metallicized paper products.
So you've got these trails overhead that are dropping nano, schwannella, bacteria fibers, dried blood cells, all these creepy things. Then you have GMOs that are going into the body. And these shills and moles will come out and go, people have been doing GMOs for centuries. Haven't you ever seen a watermelon? Well, watermelons didn't look like that. There is a big difference from mixing puppies together or taking watermelon seeds and doing things to them and then creating a GMO, you know, with bacteria and fungus or whatever you're using to create these creepy ass GMO foods. There is a big difference between the two. And I remember in the late 90s when they changed oils and started doing all these different things that I ate my whole life would begin to hurt my stomach. And my stomach would almost go into cramps. Things changed. But think about people who have grown up that way. They have literally formed in the womb from childhood on with nothing but chemtrails and GMOs. You are a poisoned being. And then if something happens to you, you know, they have it affects your hormones. Then you have radio waves that affects your hormones in different areas. And then you have the trails that are being dropped as well. So you have like these three factors that are going on. You know, radio frequency, what you're putting in your body, and what's coming down from above. And what ends up happening is your body is fucked up. It's poisoned. It's fucked up. You've got the wrong hormones going on. You got whatever. Now, what happens when this is sold to you as a lifestyle? What a great way to cover your tracks. You poison everybody and then you sell a lifestyle to them. You know, as far as cultures go, most cultures that people think that they created were formed in Hollywood. And they have influencers working. And this culture forms around a Hollywood character or what is being pushed. And then everybody starts doing it because people have a herd mentality. They don't want the population increasing. They want the population level down. Now, if there were heavy metals and chemicals that were making people infertile and gay and they knew about it, would they tell you? So here, birds are becoming gay from mercury pollution. So birds, when they acquire heavy metal poisoning, become gay. And that's Mother Nature saying, you're out of the gene pool, you're poisoned, you're gone. Now imagine poisoning everybody and then selling things to you along the line. You know, you have all kinds of crazy things that are happening and people aren't thinking straight. They're not thinking straight. I have these conversations with people all the time. People are getting dumber and crazier and very obsessed with things that don't matter. You have those three factors coming from above in your body and radio frequency that can just decimate you and then sell it back to you as a damn lifestyle. It's insanity. This particular creature claims to be an alien, like a 6th or an 8th generation alien or a 3rd generation alien. Right? It seems screwed up. She's confused. She's got a lot of stuff going on. And I think that this is happening due to what she was raised on, what was in her body, what she formed on, and everything else around her. It is going to have an effect on you. There are consequences for RF, GMOs, and the things that are being dumped on people from above. What are they using blood cells for? You have to think about this stuff. So she had her breasts lopped off, right? Just had them cut off. But as we get into her story, then the medical information starts to come out. That these weird diseases that people have and conditions, which are symptoms, these are all symptoms, start to manifest and rear their ugly heads. Let's check it out.
So I was diagnosed with a connective tissue disorder. I have to walk with a cane most of the time. It affects the soft tissue of the body. So basically it makes all of the tendons and ligaments too loose.
Just like kids are falling apart now, their muscles aren't attaching to their skeletons right, and nothing is happening correctly. Her tendons are too loose, like rubber bands, and she's just flopping around. So her hormones are screwed up, that's screwed up. She lopped her breasts off. There's a lot of craziness going on. And guess what? She thinks she's an alien, and all of this is being sold to her as a lifestyle. And she is poisoned. She is literally poisoned from birth until now by everything around her and in her. Now, this last statement that she makes is pretty important.
Weak. My disability makes me feel like I shouldn't have been born in a human body.
Her disability makes her feel like she shouldn't have been born in a human body. So she rebels against it. She has been poisoned from the ground up, and when your body isn't receiving nutrients, a bunch of dead food and deadness and death and GMOs and all the crap that a 20 to 25-year-old would be brought up on, you have exactly what is happening to this person. These are all symptoms and conditions brought on by everything that has happened over the past 25 years and has been sold to these people as a lifestyle. It's insanity. They're poisoning you and then convincing you that it's somehow cool. So they are literally poisoning these people from the time they are in the womb, from within, from RF, from above, from all angles. And it's messing with these people's electrochemicals, their chemicals, the electricity in their body, their testosterone, their estrogen, every important factor of a forming human being. And then they're weaponizing these people and they're telling them, you were made this way. This is the way you were made. It's the patriarchy. Go after the patriarchy. So they are literally using them as stormtroopers after they poison them. It's insanity. These people should be fighting against the system and what the system is doing to them, not fighting the fucking patriarchy. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense. They have weaponized these people and turned them into literal stormtroopers. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh man, I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
Charlie, I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.